With Soul Leveling now ended, we need some replacement manhwa to scratch the same itches that Soul Leveling did. I've come up with 5 recommendations that will kind of scratch the itch of a fan of Soul Leveling on some of the different facets of what made Soul Leveling as great as it was. So the next are 5, and I'll explain which itch they're going to be scratching exactly. If you are into the animation as well as the main character's look, style, and fighting with daggers, you may like Solo Max Level Newbie. It carries a lot of similarities to Soul Leveling. It has a lot of intricate itemization, it has an interesting game-like system similar to Soul Leveling. The main character kind of looks like Sung Jin-woo, which is kind of hard to miss, and the art style as well as the vibe often has some Soul Leveling feeling to it. But don't get me wrong, the main character of Soul Max Level Newbie is a bit more ruthless than Sung Jin-woo was. He's not as nice a guy. He does what he must to control those around him, and I think it may be avoiding some of the issues that Soul Leveling did because he's kind of talking about maybe creating a party around him, which is going to be an interesting thing to see where they go with that. That being said, I also think the world that they've created and the different challenges, the tower, and the way the different mazes and things like that work are going to make this very interesting to look at, and maybe a little bit more deep in regards to lore when we look into it, particularly when it comes to itemization. That being said, each chapter feels like it's missing a little something to be on the level of Soul Leveling. It doesn't quite have that same pace like Soul Leveling does, where it always felt like you were going 100 miles an hour no matter what. But it is a phenomenal read, and every week I cannot wait for next chapter. The next one I want to talk about is Leveling with the Gods. My lord, is this thing good. I think Leveling with the God has the potential to be way better than Soul Leveling long term. I think the dynamics created as of chapter 1, it also has a really good setup chapter at the beginning. Kind of a returner story, a second chance at succeeding where they failed previously. But the gods, the items, the lore of this world is really interesting, despite it technically just being a story about climbing a tower, which is not exactly the most original thing if you've been reading Manhwa for a while. That being said, the main character of Leveling with the Gods is a stoic badass. He looks cool, he wears a cape, he's awesome. He looks awesome all the time, and his use of the items that he gets and his beating of new records on each floor that he reaches is always interesting to read. So if you're looking for something to scratch that itch about just achievement, coolness, and badass protagonists with game systems involved, you're definitely not going to go wrong with Leveling with the Gods. Obviously, you can read all of these. There's nothing prevents you from reading just one, but yes, this one's definitely worth it. If what you're going to be missing is the necromancy aspects, Soulstation Necromancer is definitely for you. It's another badass protagonist, but this time he's a bit more of a loose cannon kind of thing. He's leap before thinking kind of mindset, whereas Sung Jin-woo is a bit more calculated, calm, stoic, whereas this is definitely not the case in Soulstation Necromancer. He's a great protagonist, but he's very different in vibe to Sung Jin-woo, which is great. However, he also says arise, and when he does say it, it has that same purple vibe as Soul Leveling does, which is really cool looking. The visuals are really nice, and it's definitely worth your time to check out. This next one is actually pretty different. The reason I'm recommending it is it has that same really cool, regal feeling when you look at the protagonist. He just gives out that same royal feeling as Sung Jin-woo did. Sung Jin-woo felt like he could have been a prince very easily because he just had this class to him. And Duke Pendragon is definitely filled with class. About a character that was an assassin-like character in his style originally, which is like Sung Jin-woo, reborn or transported, depending how you want to look at things, into the body of this prince-like figure, well, Duke actually, and it has dragons, it has amazing animation, but it has amazing art. It has really, really cool fights, storylines, mythology, as well as it has dragons, and the dragons are pretty darn cool, I have to say. So yeah, if you're looking for something really interesting, this one's actually pretty darn new, so check that one out, it's worth your time. The last one's pretty easy to recommend because it's the one that the artists behind Soul Leveling are going to be focusing on after the end of Soul Leveling, and that's Return of the Disaster Class Hero. It's a story of betrayal. It's a story of a character coming back years after this betrayal, of being in this group that was conquering a tower. He was their most powerful person, but he wasn't in it for the glory or the money. He just loved to fight. But when people want to make money, you're in their way. So he's left for dead, and he gets a second chance, and also this chance basically to put all these other people back in their place. It's fun. The main character is a loose cannon. Artistically, it looks very similar to Soul Leveling, which I think is not a bad thing at all. Soul Leveling is visually amazing, and this one is definitely worth checking out for that exact same reason. If you aren't checking these out, check them out. They're all absolutely worth their time. Going in order, that is Solo Max Level Newbie, Leveling with the Gods, Soulstation Necromancer, Duke Pendragon, and finishing out with Return of the Disaster Class Hero. All 5 of them are worth your time, and all 5 of them are available online to find right now. Alright, thank you so much, guys. See you soon.